You're listening to Sweep the League.
Hey, this is George Iceman Gervin, and you're listening to Sweep the League Radio.
What is going on, guys? Rudy Campos Jr. here for Sweep the League. It's another Manic Monday. It's another Monday after NCAA and NFL football. Coming to you a lot this past weekend. We saw some great football games. Upsets, yeah, we'll get into a couple of those there. Last Thursday, actually, we saw Texas State against Arizona State. Arizona State pulled off the win, but again, that was that game right there that Texas State needed to win in order for me to feel like they would have ran the table. They would have been able to get into the Final 12 for the college football playoffs. But hopefully we'll be joined by Coach Gio here in just a little bit so we can talk some NFL, some NCAA football. Georgia was on upset alert as we speak. But Derek Irvin will be back tomorrow. Hey, this is a quick announcement. This show is going to be rebroadcast tonight at 9 o'clock. So, again, we're getting to you live now. This show will be rebroadcast at 9 o'clock for those of y'all that are used to listening to Sweep the League at 9 o'clock. So, let's not waste any time here. Let's get Coach Gio on the show right now, all the way from Kentucky, wearing his Georgia sweater.
Rudy, you know I don't live in Kentucky.
No, but you were in Kentucky. You were watching the game.
Oh, yeah.
So all the way back from Kentucky is what I meant to say. All the way back from Kentucky.
Well, I wasn't wearing this. It was way too hot. But, from made the drive to Lexington, Rudy, it was in the middle of SEC country, man. It was actually a great atmosphere.
I could imagine. I bet a lot of Georgia fans, including yourself, were a little bit worried there, man.
Worried, upset, all the emotions of a SEC game in full effect. You know, Kentucky really, besides last season, played Georgia pretty tough over the years. Mark Stoops' defenses have been physical. And you saw that. Really, it took every ounce of Georgia, and I'm sure you saw some of that game, to win that game. Every yardage was tough. Kentucky was flying around. What's pretty interesting, Georgia still hasn't given up a touchdown, Rudy, all year, which is kind of just crazy to think. But their defense made some, had some holes there, some penalties, some costly penalties. But overall, Rudy, this is SEC football back in the day, right? LSU versus Alabama, 10-7, or just some ridiculous score where defense rules. But, man, the fans were loud. Sometimes I couldn't even hear myself speak. People were drunk, as you can only imagine, a night game. But no, it was a great atmosphere. Sure, a blowout would have been nice, Rudy, to get out the parking lot quick. But, man, you had all the emotions, and it was a great time. Won't be the last time I'll make the trip to Kentucky.
That was obviously the game to watch, was the Kentucky-Georgia game, only because, you had number one on the ropes, which it did affect the rankings. We saw the new rankings come out. We'll get into that in just a little bit. But like I say, I've always told you, just be truthful and honest. We're not being homers and stuff like that. But I saw a lot of negative things when it came to Georgia against Kentucky that I feel the better SEC teams can expose on Georgia. Do you think the coaching staff, Kirby Smart, is going to be able to kind of shore up a lot of these things as we head into SEC play?
They've had some injuries, had some guys come back, Rudy. And look, they played an SEC game, Rudy. Texas didn't play an SEC game. I don't know what that team UTSA had on the field, but they didn't play them. Did Alabama play an SEC game? They did blow out Wisconsin, which I thought they would.
They ended up blowing out Wisconsin. But I actually had Wisconsin closer than that. I don't know. I mean, I figured they would play them a lot closer.
South Carolina, Rudy, that team, they were so close of upsetting LSU. South Carolina is better than what we expect. But for Georgia, look, Rudy, it's a long season. I told you on Twitter, or X now, whatever. The year they won the championship, Rudy, they're down 17-0.
Yeah.
Auburn's given us issues. South Carolina, which is a team that has historically always has given us problems. It didn't look great. The offense, Mike Bobo, there's Georgia fans screaming at Mike Bobo from the sidelines. I didn't love the play calling, but look, you still have the quarterback there, Rudy. You still have a guy there who can make throws. It wasn't great to watch some of the struggles, but we did see the team resilient, Rudy. They found a way to win. And some of those SEC games, Rudy, I mean, Texas, who knows? They might blow everybody out. But, Rudy, it's possible Texas may have some SEC games that potentially go down to the wire. Texas A&M at the end of the season, right? Is a lot goes into these games. But Georgia, there is some concern there with health. They had some guys hurt, and they played a lot of snaps on defense, it felt like, that entire game. And, Rudy, in 2 weeks, they got Alabama. So they got to really be prepared, because if you go in there like that, you're going to get blown out.
Yeah, and I'm still not convinced on Alabama, even though they won 42-10 on Wisconsin this past weekend. I still am not truly convinced of Alabama, and that's, I mean, I can't lie, man. Texas was my pick to win the college football national championship, and they still look like the best team in the land, followed closely by Ole Miss, and even I hate to say it, but I think Tennessee looks better than Bama, and after this past weekend, Georgia too.
Right, and this is what happens every week, right? We judge by what we've just recently saw.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks, Rudy, if Georgia beats Alabama 41-10, where do you think that changes your? You know what I'm saying? It's just
it's hard.
Yeah, from week to week, it's going to change. To me, it's the war of who's going to stay the healthiest at the end of the year. If Ole Miss is healthy, Rudy, and they're flying high, I wouldn't be surprised if they go on a run there with Lane Kiffin, who, by the way, has been rumored. It seemed like Florida wants to get Lane Kiffin, Rudy.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, look at what he's doing at Ole Miss, man. I mean, you definitely want to get Lane Kiffin,
but he's always jumping. He's always jumping ship, Rudy.
Yeah, he is. I mean, again, one of the hottest names out there is going to be Jeff Traylor from UTSA. You've got other coaches that are going to be the hot names out there, but I'm going to get into that UTSA talk here in just a little bit, because they played the new number one team in Texas Longhorns this past weekend. But that's the thing with SEC. If I'm looking at the SEC, I don't see anybody outside of the SEC who has an opportunity to win the national championship. I mean, literally, there's 5 teams in there that have a shot.
Ohio State, Rudy.
I still haven't. I have not seen enough when it came to Ohio State. I really have not.
And I thought Oregon played obviously much better against a rival team. They blew out Oregon State on the road. For what it's worth, it is a rival. But Rudy, who's going to peak, right? Are you peaking too early, right? That's the balance. Who peaks at the right time? Georgia's not peaking right now, right? No. But if Georgia peaks at the end of the season, you're like, oh, okay. So when do you peak? I feel like Texas is pretty much on a high. I mean, they demolished Michigan. By the way, Rudy, Michigan only beat, was it Arkansas State by, or one of these teams only by 10 points this past weekend.
Yeah.
We talked about it already. We didn't believe Michigan would probably end the year in the top 25.
Yeah, no. And just for clarification, your screen kind of froze. So if everybody's wondering what happened to Coach Zio, his screen froze a little bit. So it's coming back now, but don't worry about it. Michigan, we never had Michigan as barn burners this year at all. But I mean, the more I go week to week, Gio, the more I am confidently saying that your national champion is probably going to come out of the SEC. I mean, outside of Ohio State, just look at the rankings. 1, Texas, SEC. 2, Georgia, SEC. 4, Bama, SEC. 5, Ole Miss, SEC. 6, Tennessee, SEC. 7, Missouri. Where are they at? What conference are they in?
Shout out to Boston College. I thought they played as hard as they could, Rudy, and had some opportunities. Tennessee, okay, you beat Kent State, who, by the way, has so many injuries. I don't know what happened to North Carolina State. Tennessee, really, let's wait because, they beat Iowa. Oh, no, that was actually in the bowl game last year. But really, Tennessee has not played really anybody. But we'll see, really. The next two butts, we're going to see a whole lot of these teams playing each other. And South Carolina, I know they're going to beat someone they're probably not supposed to beat.
Oh,
and they almost did.
They almost did when it came to LSU, man. But I mean, you're talking what? 8 out of the top 16 teams are SEC.
We said what? 4 teams, Rudy?
We said 4.
4, but if this keeps up, now obviously Georgia plays Texas, but those teams are going to be in regardless, right? Even with, you would think with both of those teams, unless they have a 2 or 3 loss, but really, I mean, Tennessee is going to be tough regardless. These teams, it's just crazy to think. And that's why Texas and Oklahoma, Rudy, they went to the SEC because this is what you play for, right? And you can't forget about the lower tier teams, Rudy. You know, you can't, just because Arkansas is not good, you go on a road there for a Thursday night or a Saturday night game and it's raining or it's just terrible weather. They could beat you. Auburn, too, we laughed last week. They lost to Cal, but these games, the Iron Bowl, right? All these rivalry games in the SEC, it's a beauty to watch. And we're going to see for the next few months as SEC play really kicks off, what are these teams made of? Because it's going to be the war of nutrition, Rudy. The war, who's the healthiest, who can stay upright.
Yeah, you're right. And that's the thing, too, is I mentioned you got 6 out of the 7 teams in the ranking. The first 6 out of the first 7 in the rankings, you got 6 that are SEC. But they still all have to play each other. I mean, there's not going to be any ties. You can't say, well, this and that. But I still think they get 4. But now I'm starting to believe that 5 teams get in. The only team outside of, we're talking about Texas State, we're talking about UTSA, these guys, Memphis, actually, I mean, they control their destiny. They can still get into the college football playoffs, as a lot of people were expecting them to, as being the 12th team in. But when it comes to the Big Ten, Gio, I mean, I'm not sold on Oregon. I'm definitely not sold on Oregon, even though they crushed Oregon State. I'm not sold on Oregon. We don't know what Oregon team we're getting from week to week, so I'm not sold on them. USC, I'm more of a fan of USC, but ideally, I can see possibly 3 Big Ten teams getting in. Ohio State being one, even though, I mean, because they're not really playing anybody, in my opinion. Oregon could get in. I do see maybe USC getting in, but one team that you've been telling me about that I saw this past weekend, I sat down and watched the game. Those cowards need to start ranking those Indiana Hoosiers.
Look, when I came, because I was at the game and I checked my ESPN and really I saw 40 UCLA, a team defensively who has been good on defense in the last several seasons. I think Coach Cignetti is having that team rolling. I don't want to, Rudy, this is a week to week thing. I don't want to push the narrative too soon. I know I've been pushing for IU. They look great. They got a home game against Charlotte, should take care of business, and obviously Big Ten play. But really, if that offense continues to play like this, I think it's just, to me, that team is just, I thought they'll make a bowl game, but if they have any business competing for a Big Ten title, would be a huge thing. Obviously, if they keep winning, they still have to play Michigan, which, by the way, Rudy, I know we talked about it. That game could be IU's. That could be a game where they definitely win, and we wouldn't have thought this entering the season. But Indiana, I think it's too early. I don't want them ranked right now, Rudy. I don't want all that ranking on their name. Just leave them alone. Go out there and play. But so far, to go on the road in the Rose Bowl, I know it seemed like there was anybody barely there, but they look good, Rudy, on offense.
Well, their schedule doesn't do them any favors. Now, the next 3 games, they got Charlotte and Maryland at home. They travel to Northwestern. Now, Northwestern obviously is one of those games where it can go either way. For whatever reason, Northwestern can just get up one weekend and cause havoc. But it's after that game, because then you're looking at Nebraska. You're looking at Washington, Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State, Purdue. out of that last part of the season, I mean, Gio, in those 6 games that end the season, if they're flying high and they're 6-0 going into those final 6 games, you've got to think they can beat a Michigan team. You've got to think they can beat a Nebraska team. I
can only imagine what that stadium, if they're flying high, Rudy, and they're undefeated and they're going to that Michigan game. I was at the Michigan game 2 years ago in Indiana. It was a decent crowd, but I can only imagine what that stadium will look like this time around if they're undefeated. And a lot of fans are going crazy now. You got to think, Rudy, they got a shot. But the games I'm also worried about is the Michigan State game, right? Is the Purdue game where teams have nothing to lose. Michigan State much better this year so far than they were last season. But Indiana's an interesting team. Their coach says a lot of stuff, Rudy. He's out there just saying it. But if Indiana, if they were in the playoffs at the end of the year, it would be phenomenal for a team. Historically, football has been, let's just say, in the water. But Rudy, Penn State, that's another team. I don't trust them either. I really don't.
Yeah, Penn State. I'm not on the Penn State bandwagon. I'm not. I really don't feel Penn State. I don't think they're going to be. I think it's hard to say. I think they'll be there at the end, but I honestly
think they'll be there at the end because of maybe the Big Ten. As good schools as they have there, Rudy, we know that some of those games can get out of hand, right? Rutgers, you have Nebraska's interesting, Rudy. That's another team that's kind of sitting there. I think they're ranked 22. But they got a freshman quarterback? I don't know yet, but if they keep winning games, that's why I love the next 2 months, Rudy, because it's really going to show a lot of what these teams are made of.
Yeah, and the thing too is with Penn State, they go I think they got a couple of weeks. They got Illinois, who's number 24 now. Illinois is a tough out for them. Then they have to travel to USC a few weeks after that.
That's a weird, yeah.
That's a very tough game for Penn State. Plus, they've got Ohio State still. They got to go to Purdue. Even circle that Minnesota game in November. They've got to travel to Minnesota. So there's a lot of tough games. And that's why I'm saying on the Big Ten, it seems like I hate to do this because I've already jinxed a couple of teams, but it seems like Indiana has a good path because in those last 6 games, if they're flying high, the only game they should possibly lose is to Ohio State. But I'm not even convinced Ohio State is that team in the Big Ten. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you could see the Hoosiers sneak up, man. I mean, it's very possible you could sneak up.
It's very possible. They just continue to get better and better. And I know the coach doesn't want it. I would love, obviously, a ranking. It's just a number, but they just got to go out, just play every week, play your opponent. That Maryland game is going to be tough, though, Rudy. That's going to be a tough game.
Very.
Coach Loxley's always got that team ready to go in Maryland. So I don't want to hear. I just want them to keep winning, be in the background because
you can't keep them in the background forever.
For too long. But you know how this football is, Rudy. You start patting yourself on the back, you start looking this, and the next you're Colorado.
Colorado. Coach Gio, Rudy Campos Jr. on another Manic Monday covering the NCAA football weekend as well as NFL football weekend here on Sweep the League. We're going to be rebroadcasting this show later on tonight at 9 o'clock. So if you missed it now, you won't miss it later. Catch myself and Coach Gio at 9 o'clock on the replay edition of Sweep the League's Manic Monday. So, we're talking about Big Ten here. And like I said, that's why I made the comment. I even put it on Twitter. I said, you cowards need to rank Indiana. I get you don't want them ranked. Okay, we'll leave it at that, Gio. But when you look at, Texas and you look at UTSA this past weekend, Texas is the most complete team. I've said it once. I'm going to keep saying it. They're the most complete team in the country. I have them winning. And I said the only thing you could think of is, what if Quinn Ewers gets hurt? Well, now he's hurt. What happens? Now you get the taste of Arch. And now you've got people screaming, Arch Manning needs to be starting over Quinn Ewers. I'm not quite there yet, even though I'm a bigger Arch Manning supporter than I am Quinn Ewers. I want to throw this conspiracy theory out there for you. that Ewers is not injured. They're claiming that he's injured. He's going to sit out against Louisiana Monroe. But this is just because they're saving Quinn for SEC play, all this other stuff. And basically they don't want to say, well, we're going to bench you in order for Arch to play. If that makes it, I'm not saying a bench, but that's what I'm kind of understanding that.
Really, that can go both ways. It could go really well, and then it could be a disaster.
A rib injury, and he hurt his wrist. How does a wrist and a rib injury occur at one time?
Listen, I'm all about conspiracies. Trust me. Look at Shannon Sharp. I think he lied about that. But anyway, for them to do that though, Brady would really, because you're taking a quarterback out of rhythm, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't play. Archie had four touchdowns. Really was phenomenal. Yeah. If you had the overall touchdowns for Archie, you probably would have got a lot of money. Of course, you probably didn't know, but I don't know if you would do something like that, really, to mess up, like on purpose, right? To mess up kind of the flow. He's out. He's probably not playing next week, obviously. But then, I mean, what type of schedule? So they had Michigan, and then they've had a bunch of other cupcakes, Rudy?
Yeah.
I will say Texas does look like the better team right now. Let's see what happens when they're in SEC play. And
I don't see it being that big of a deal. I mean, they're dominating on both sides of the ball, and easily at that.
No, of course easily, but I'm telling you right now, man, SEC football, there's every now and then you get a team coming in, a whole bunch of kumbaya. Look, listen, we'll talk about you later on, but no, Rudy, I think it's not going to be this easy all year, Rudy, and you know that. There's going to be some adversity, and you want to kind of face it. You want to see, is it Oklahoma, right? Is it Texas A&M at the end of the season? I'm sure the Aggies are going to be wanting to ruin it for them. So, and also the SEC championship game, which now has become a little bit of an afterthought, Rudy. I don't know. It's obviously a big game. You want to win your conference, but it's not nearly as big as it used to be. But Texas, I think they're flying high, Rudy. They're flying high as a kite, and they're patting themselves on the back, which they should. They're playing really well.
Yeah, they are. Again, SEC play is going to be coming up. Texas does have one more game. It's Monroe, basically University of Louisiana, Monroe. Then they got Mississippi State, Oklahoma, Georgia. Basically, the SEC competition starts early.
Mississippi State, I don't know what's going to happen there, Rudy. Now, it's a home game, so. It's
a home game. It's kind of hard to oversee that. But then you go to the Red River rivalry with Oklahoma. Then you have Georgia coming into town. So that's where that one, too. Now, if they can escape Oklahoma and Georgia, you got to kind of start feeling a little bit good about the Texas Longhorns.
Oh, no, because then they play Vandy, but they should beat them. Kentucky could be a tough one. We saw how physical they were against Georgia and Florida, whatever's left. Yeah. That's the thing. A lot of their key games, and who made the schedule for them, Rudy?
Hey, you guys agreed to it.
It's like, dude, so they're on the road at Arkansas, okay, but then home at Florida, and then they're on the road at Vandy. I mean, Texas A&M could be a interesting game, but their schedule actually works out pretty well. And I think, Rudy, with the expanded teams now, I think the scheduling you can really kind of get teams to really go a certain way. And that's what it's looking like here for good old Texas.
Yeah, Christopher Leha, MCS General Contracting man himself, proud sponsor of Sweep the League. We're going to get into Caleb Williams in a little bit here. I know Gio's dying to get me on board the Caleb Williams train, as he always has been.
Caleb was the leading rusher last night for the Bears, Rudy.
And you know what?
That's a problem. Well, that's a problem. That's not a good thing. They can't. They couldn't run the Rudy Swift. His first several carries, Rudy, was minus yards.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you called them a playoff team, so
I thought that they would come out slinging, but there's something wrong with that freaking offense, and they should have hired an offensive-minded coach, Rudy. They had a defensive-mind guy there. You know me, and I never like my head coaches in general to be defensive-minded head coaches, but that's for later on.
Yeah, we're going to get into NFL talk. He's wondering, is Caleb a quarterback or running back? But speaking of Caleb Williams, before we go to our commercial break, Shedeur Sanders, Gio, another all too hyped up, but not going to come out to be crap in the NFL type of player. Incident with Colorado State. Now, I totally get if you're talking some mad shit on Instagram and all that stuff. I totally get you want to back yourself up and all that, but a lot of times let your play do the talking. Colorado beat Colorado State, no big deal. But at the end of the game, and even during the game, it happened too, where he was talking to the crowd. The ref had to tell him, "Get the hell out of here, go back to your bench." He has it off the not off the field, but after the game, not shaking the Colorado State quarterback's hand. The attitude just isn't there, man. This guy's not going to be a great pro unless he gets on a coaching staff where they're going to lay the law down. But Gio, this whole new style of coaching, you got to coach, for the players and all this stuff. You can't be rough on them and everything. I told you, if he goes to another school and isn't coached by his dad, he would be a much better player and be better prepared for the NFL. But since he didn't, it's going to be a massive struggle, dude. I'm almost thinking the same type of struggle you're seeing with Caleb.
Well, okay, we'll talk about Caleb later.
No, yeah, we'll talk about Caleb later.
Shedeur, yeah, it wasn't the greatest look. Listen, just shake his hand, just move on. He's talking crap, and what did he say on Instagram? I'm not really sure all the semantics of what the story is. Exactly what it was. Maybe it goes deep. I have no idea. You beat your rival. This has kind of been a pretty big game, Rudy, the last 2 years. I mean, last year went down to the wire. This year a little bit different. Sure, just gotta continue to just work on your craft and don't worry about the outside noise. And that thing that we have talked about, Rudy, is there's a lot of stuff it seemed like every week there's something. Every week there's something. It's your dad. Just go out there and play, man. Don't worry about all this extra stuff that's at the grand scheme of things, Rudy. Isn't important about an Instagram post. Who cares, dude? It's Colorado State. Just worry about your next opponent and just move forward. Yeah. I think he can be a franchise quarterback when he does things like this. And if he would have shook his hand, Rudy, and said to his heir, "Hey, man, I like all that crap. Now you've been talking," or something a little bit more playful, I think would have been fine. Yeah. But it's just.
Well, when he says you can't F with me or something like that, I mean, you're right. If you don't want to shake the guy's hand, just go up to him and say, "Hey, man, no disrespect. I'm not shaking your hand. I don't like the disrespect you gave me on Instagram. Just let it go." I mean, there's better ways of handling it than acting like a punk is what it is. And that's what I consider it to be. But, I made the comment on Twitter, on X, or whatever the kids call it these days. I made that, post about, do we really consider him, consider taking him in the first round? And I had one pushback from one of the listeners and saying, well, if it wasn't Shedeur Sanders in Colorado, you wouldn't be talking about this. And, basically I have hate for Sanders in Colorado in general, which is completely not true. I said, Travis Hunter, I give him all the respect in the world. He's going to be a Sunday primetime player. And Travis Hunter is probably one, if not the actual best athlete going into the draft next year. So I love Colorado in general. I mean, they've got players. I just don't like the attitude of Shedeur Sanders. And it starts at the top with his dad. If you allow him to act like that on the field, there's no NFL team that's going to want him. They're going to draft him for the name, and then you're going to see exactly what happened to him, what's happening to Bryce Young right now. He's going to be benched going into week 3 for Andy Dalton. I mean, you're setting him up for failure is what you're doing.
Carolina has set up, to me, Bryce Young for failure. Rudy, it seems like every time I see a clip of him, he's literally getting just murdered back on the line of scrimmage. But for Shedeur, listen, just keep playing. Just let your play do the talking at this point, because really it's probably seeming like maybe Deion won't be back next season. But for Colorado, though, it's put a lot of money into the program, Rudy.
Yeah, it's a lot of program, but I don't think Deion's going to be there at the end of the season. To me, there's just no way at all. Because once his boys are gone, what does he have? There's no reason for him to coach there anymore. Shedeur Sanders is a 2-pack of ass, according to Chris Leha. I totally agree. Little Chump's worried about social media comments. Hella soft. Yeah. And then Tim said that Shedeur followed and subscribed to Sweep the League podcast. I sure as hell hope so. Maybe we can put a little fire into Shedeur Sanders' ass. But nonetheless, it's Coach Gio. It's Rudy Campos Jr. We're here with you until about 4 o'clock. And then again, you will see this exact stream tonight at 9 p.m. on our YouTube channel. Be sure to follow Sweep the League TV on YouTube so you can get notified when we go live, just like right now, which we're doing on Monday and Wednesdays. But again, this is going to be broadcast live, or not live, but it's going to be rebroadcast again tonight. When we come back, it's going to be NFL talk. Coach Gio, Rudy Campos Jr., Hall of Famer Derek Irvin should be back tomorrow. See you guys in just a bit. Are you looking for a contracting company that gets the job done right the first time? Look no further than MCS General Contracting. MCS specializes in top quality concrete work, including patios, driveways, foundations, and swimming pools. The team of experts are dedicated to delivering exceptional results and unparalleled customer satisfaction. At MCS General Contracting, they're not just hardworking, they're local. Based in San Antonio, they are committed to building relationships and trust within the community. That's why MCS guarantees your satisfaction. They pride themselves on getting the job done right the first time, every time. So why wait? Contract MCS General Contracting today to schedule your project and experience the difference for yourself. MCS General Contracting. Building a better San Antonio, one project at a time. Proud sponsors of Sweep the League.
Yeah, this for the family. Loyalty, respect, honor. You know what it is. STL Music. Let's get it. We the ones, never folded on ourselves, no bluffing. Legacy we building, man, this ain't up for discussion. They wanted us to quit, but we dug in deep. Motivated to the fullest, dreams ain't meant for sleep. On the grind 24/7, no time for rest. We making moves, calculated like a master.
All right, welcome back. Sweep the League. Coach Gio, Rudy Campos Jr. coming to you on another Manic Monday. Again, this will be broadcast tonight at 9 p.m. on YouTube. So be sure to go to YouTube, search at Sweep the League TV, be a subscriber. We got some stuff that we'll be giving away here pretty soon as well. So be sure to be a subscriber for us here on YouTube. Search Sweep the League TV on YouTube. I got a little tongue twisted there.
Sweep the League.
Oh, what?
No, it says Sweep the League.
Yeah, the Drew show is in here. Shedeur Sanders makes $5 million a year because of his tripping on Instagram. And Era Boys, learn it, love it, live it. Exactly. I mean, you know what, Drew? We just got to bitch about something. And, you know, it seems cool that we get to bitch about Shedeur Sanders because he's going to make way more in a blink of an eye than I will in my entire lifetime. So, I got to bitch about something. I'm an old man. I got the long black socks and the robe when I go out get my newspaper. Yes, a newspaper outside in my front yard. Something Gio probably doesn't know about because he's like way too young. So
wait a minute. My family still gets a newspaper at their house.
Really? Well, but you're young. I'm the old man when here. Me and Derek are the old.
Yeah. I mean, but I will say when I was younger, I did have to go pick up the newspaper from the front lawn.
Did you go in black socks and, the robe and everything? The black knee-high socks or whatever?
No robe. No,
you just went bare. That's probably not a good idea to try to imagine that at all.
Probably some shorts and some T-shirt. It was hot in Florida.
T-shirt. Well, yeah, dude, it's hot in Florida. I mean, that's no doubt about that. Man, tonight we have a Monday night game. Birds versus Birds, Falcons versus Eagles. The Falcons, I think, lose at 7:15 tonight. So that'll be a Eagles and Birds showdown. Dirty Birds are looking to go 1-1. Eagles looking to go 2-0. Who's it going to be? We got a quick pick 'em in, Gio. Falcons, Eagles going to Lincoln Financial Field, Philadelphia. Who do you got tonight?
I think Kirk Cousins will play much better than last week. I think the Falcons will be able to get their offense going, but I think the Eagles at home should win this football game. The Falcons, we don't know who they are yet, Rudy, but the Eagles, we kind of do. Saquon Barkley, they have a ton of receivers. But I think the Falcons can keep this game close and be very competitive. Kirk Cousins really has a history of playing bad, and the next you know, he's Tom Brady. So it depends what Kirk Cousins shows up. If Kirk Cousins shows up and he's balling and he's got that gold chain, you know, I think they have a good shot to win this game, but give me the Eagles tonight.
So it's funny because I was going to bring this game up here, and it's going to be the Cowboys and the Saints, obviously. And like I was saying, put some respect on Derek Carr's name. Tell Philly we coming for them bums. It's fun. It's weird because everybody's, oh my God, you know, the sky's falling in Dallas, Gio. It is what it is. You said they won't win 10, 11 games. They're going to probably even miss the playoffs. I remember you saying something like that. But for me, I expected them to win, you know, about 10 or 11 games. But I've been saying lately, I couldn't figure out the Saints. I think I've been able to figure them out. I couldn't tell if they were the worst team in the NFC South or the best team in the NFC South. Lately, they've been looking like the best team in the NFC South. But is it time to put respect on Derek Carr's name? Because he's in 2 games. It's just 2 games. Give him 2 games. Let's give him the 2-game love here. But you could throw 3 letters in front of him. Derek Carr right now and MVP candidate just for the first 2 weeks. He has made him look a lot better. Now, Kamara made him look great this past weekend, but Derek Carr has actually been doing some really good stuff with the Saints these past couple of weeks.
It's too soon. To even mention the word MVP and Derek Carr's name to me is comical, at least right now. Things can change sometime down the line, but Derek Carr, Rudy, man, he's flying high, does this, and then somehow, some way, he comes back down to earth. The NFL figures these teams out, Rudy, all the time, and you're going to have games where you don't play well. So far, he's 2-0. Phenomenal. But they played the Carolina Panthers, Rudy, who just benched their quarterback. So I just erased that game. They did put a whooping on them Cowboys. And Rudy, I talked about it. I picked the Saints to actually win this game. Also picked the Bengals.
Don't take all the damn credit. You and I did.
I did pick the Bengals ready to win, and they were right there with the Chiefs. Couldn't that penalty. But listen, so far somehow they playing well. The Rams are absolutely atrocious. I mean, absolutely look terrible. They couldn't tackle Kyler Murray, which, by the way, Rudy, once upon a time, Rudy said that Daniel Jones was better than Kyler Murray.
But I did apologize for that recently.
So far, the Rams, especially this game, just looked terrible. They got down so early though, Rudy, that they just couldn't get it going. Kudos to the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray looking like old Kyler Murray, and Marvin Harrison, we know Rudy is going to be the truth, and he put a whooping on Javarius White.
Is there any possible way that Sean McVay can make a call to, I don't know, Torrey Holt or, you know, some of these pass receivers? Because they have receivers going down left and right.
Left and right. The offensive line's also beat up as well. They do get healthy next week, but you got the 49ers coming into town, which is the Rams' home field advantage is pretty bad. So it's going to be a red sea next Sunday. But the Rams, it's I wouldn't say a must-win against the 49ers, but if you have any aspirations of postseason play, you got to win games. And so far, Rams are 0-2. It was bad. Probably one of the worst games I've seen as a Rams fan. There was the Dolphins game a few years ago where Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions. That was a terrible game. There's been blunders, but really it happens, man. Teams get blown out, but we've had more blowouts, so it seems like lately. But the Cowboys just look flat to me. They look flat, and I know our boy Rocky went to the game.
He even tried out, I think is what he was on the Star.
He even tried out. They did not look good, Rudy. And from week to week, things change. We saw the Raiders, right? I thought Brock Bowers, they showed up and they beat the Ravens, who are now 0-2. The NFL is just kind of a weird league. Things happen. And how do we do on our pick'ems, Rudy?
I got to get the final pick'em. I haven't really worked it out yet, but I'll get the final pick'ems for tomorrow's show since we've got tonight's game going. So you bring up something on the Ravens. You and I hit about it. We hit it on the head a lot of time in the offseason where we said the Ravens are probably that team that's going to go maybe not make the playoffs. And then you're going to probably see Harbaugh get fired because obviously you've got a 2-time MVP in Lamar Jackson and you can't get it done. Someone's got to pay. And that's where I told you and Derek, I said, look, the way it's going to happen is the Ravens are going to struggle. You fire Harbaugh.
Well,
you fire McCarthy. Where does that go? It trickles down, and you may see Harbaugh in Dallas. So far, the crystal ball is coming to fruition here.
Well, I think the first person who will get fired, though, is probably the offensive coordinator and Todd Monken, which, by the way, Todd, if you get the boot, just be the OC back at Georgia again. We really miss you. But anyway, Todd Monken will probably get the boot. He's probably going to get the boot first, Rudy. It's probably going to be the OC. He's probably first, and then.
But when? Because if you're looking at the Ravens possibly going 0-4 to start the season, you got to make a change quick, dude. I mean,
if they keep going, Rudy, what happen in the next month or so? Todd will be out. I wouldn't be surprised if he does get the boot. But yeah, they just.
I like that. $250 million guarantee is worth one touchdown, Pat. Yeah,
you pay these guys, Rudy, and they got to show up. Jared Goff right now not looking great in Detroit. Even that Rams game, Rudy, that second half, he really didn't do anything. He did four interceptions against Tampa? So
yeah.
Look, week to week, but let's give these players some time because things change, Rudy. The Eagles, remember them flying high, Rudy, last year, and what happened?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's kind of crazy when you're looking at Derek Carr and Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold as probably the best QBs in football right now. I mean, to me, it's kind of crazy. Like, you're actually seeing that, dude. Like, for real.
Just give him more time. I think it's just a little too early, but we'll see.
This is all overreaction. When I say Harbaugh getting fired, it's all overreaction. I'm not saying it's going to happen now, but if you see the Ravens continue to struggle, again, you put a product that is successful in the regular season. You've got an MVP candidate year in, year out with Lamar Jackson, but you can't get past a certain point of the playoffs. At some point, they're going to look at the coach and be like, well, we gave you everything you needed. Why can't you get past this part? Not get to the Super Bowl. Great. Get to the AFC Championship continuously. Great. Okay. But if you're not getting even that far, that's where I'm talking about, that they look at the coaching staff.
Do you think it hurts Harbaugh to a certain extent that he was the special teams coach and not an actual, obviously he's been there for a long time and he can coach offense and defense now, but do you think that has anything to do with, hey, you know what? He is a special teams guy at heart. Didn't really fall in line with any position coaching. It's an interesting thought.
Wasn't Belichick the same?
Well, Bill was also defensive coordinator, though.
He was.
Yeah, I mean, he had that. I'm not saying really that has anything to do with them losing. I'm just saying, just in the grand kind of picture, he really didn't run any position sides. He was just a special teams guy, which, hey, it's worked out. He did win a Super Bowl. So, I mean, it's not a knock on him, but just saying, just long term, because really, if they start 0-4, 0-5, someone's getting fired. It might not be him right away, but expect the offensive coordinator to be out. I don't think it's all Todd's fault. He's working with what he's got. But is there a peak, Rudy, you think? Has Lamar reached his peak?
That's a great question because I want to say, yeah, man. I mean, you've given him not great receivers, but you've given him receivers to work with. But I mean, that's a hard one to answer. I would say
there's 2 MVPs. I mean,
you can't do any better than that other than to win the Super Bowl. So yeah, I mean, he's hit his peak for you're putting it like that. Yeah, he's hit his peak. There's no doubt about that.
I'm assuming he's made All Pro, right? Assuming he has.
We're talking about the Ravens here. Who gets the axe? And I mean, for me, I say it's coach staff. It's got to start with Harbaugh, but they go to Dallas this weekend. If they lose to Dallas, okay, they're 0-3. Then the week 4, they're at home, but against Buffalo. Never know what the hell Buffalo's going to do with Josh Allen. Never know. Then they got Cincinnati. So the potential to start 0-5 is there. I mean, 0-5, you've got to tell me that they've got to make a change somewhere in there. And you're right, the OC may get the boot, but it's going to have to be more than the OC, man. To me, it's got to be more than that. Because you got to clean house.
No, I mean the first guy to go, OC, and then I can't wait for December 1st. You know,
the Rams and the smoke.
I hope for your sake, if the Rams are healthy, good luck. But hey, so far right now, the Saints are looking like the team that's going to come out on top. But it's only the first 2 weeks. I mean, the overreaction I've seen on X is pretty crazy.
Yeah, and Drew Show again. I love when the Drew Show's on here because he puts out some great comments, and he's right. The team to start 0-2 make the playoffs 16% of the time. That's worse than 5-1 odds.
He's completely right. Though the Rams were 3-6 last year and made the playoffs. So,
but it's not 100%. 16%.
Oh no, I mean it's not 100%. Carolina is still going to be bad. I mean, it's only for a handful of teams really who might be able to get out of it.
I agree with Drew a lot. 0-2 for the Baltimore Ravens, not looking good. Potentially 1-4 after the first 5 games. It's definitely not looking good.
Oh no,
I don't. That's why I'm saying I think Gazzaro was like, Harbaugh getting fired, laughing my ass off. It ain't happening. Basically, well, it very well could. If they don't make the playoffs, Harbaugh's gone. And to me, that sets up a good, that sets up the whole drama. What is it? When we watch Marvel movies, Gio, you get that, that, what is it called? The post-credit scene at the end?
Yeah.
Okay, so Harbaugh gets fired and then he takes off and then you look at the phone and it's Jay Jones. Then the movie ends and you got to wait for the sequel. So,
but does he want to be? Who wants a good coach to have your owner be all over you about everything, and the owner has his own his own show, Rudy?
Yeah.
It just why? We saw they hired Bill Parcells, and Bill said, "You know what? I'm out of here." You know what I'm saying? It's just. Why is Jerry the way he is? Sure, you won 3 Super Bowls, but you know what, Jerry? It was the damn coach. Yeah, you got him a few players and a few pieces, but Jerry was not the coach of that team.
Yeah. No, I know. It's going to come down to coaching, but
I never said the Saints are going to get smoked. That never came out of my mouth, Chris. I said the Saints were going to win. Not surprised they won.
Yeah, it's well, I mean, again, I will reiterate.
Who said the Saints were going to get smoked? Did you hear that, Rudy?
I didn't. Honestly, I didn't hear that on this show. Now, if another show said they were going to get smoked, I can't speak for them. But
on
this show, we can go to the tape. We have replays all the time.
But on X, I didn't see any crazy predictions. And maybe I just didn't look harder. Maybe,
I doubted Carr. I'll admit I didn't have a whole lot of love for Derek Carr because I was the one screaming to start Spencer Rattler over Derek Carr at one point.
You did say that.
I did take credit. I will never shy away from that. I take credit for all that. I was feeling that eventually Spencer Rattler should get the start over Carr to give them a better chance of winning. I did say that.
If Carr throws 4 interceptions next week, what are we going to say?
Nothing. I mean, he's 2-1. If they end up losing 4 interception game, he's 2-1. Okay, no worry about that. But I mean, at the rate right now, how do you attack the offense of the Saints? You try to blitz Carr. Kamara's making him pay. You try to stop Kamara. Raheed Shaheed's getting over the top of guys. I mean, just look at the first two games. I know Carolina was one, and I know Dallas was all talk on the defense in the offseason as the best part of the team. But, I mean, as a defensive coordinator, I don't know how to attack the New Orleans Saints right now. I really don't. And
you're going to have to.
I'm hard looking at the video.
You're going to be physical. Dallas does do this a lot, Rudy. They have these games where they just disappear. They had that Buffalo game. They had a game against the Broncos a few years ago, which they got literally outmatched.
Yeah.
Dallas does this, and Rudy, it's Mike McCarthy. It's something to do with Mike. It's something to do with his personality of this team. That it happens at least once or several times a year where they just get blown out.
Yeah, no, and he's saying all the ESPN experts, but I do take well, not credit, but I was the one that said that, I would prefer Spencer Rattler over Carr. And Carr's doing good. Hopefully he continues it. And yeah, the old line is doing good, but that's what I'm saying is like, how do you, as a defensive coordinator, you say play physical against the New Orleans Saints, but I mean, at what point of the physicality? Because right now, that entire offense is just clicking. What did they put 49 this past week? They put up 49 the last week, I think. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about a team averaging well over 40 points a game in 2 games. And I still haven't seen a formula to stop them. Like, to me, that's kind of crazy, man.
Yeah, no, the first 2 weeks. But, Rudy, no one wins the Super Bowl off the first 2 weeks. We got a long way to go.
Who do they have next? Is it Philadelphia? So they're going to Philadelphia. Or no, they're at home against Philly. Then they travel to Atlanta, travel to Kansas City. So these next 3 games are going to be tough for the New Orleans Saints. I will say that, but we'll see what happens, man. Getting into some more NFL talk with Coach Gio. You can say this and that about Jerry and how he runs the Cowboys. 1.5 billion reasons a year tell Jerry he is doing a top-notch job. Cowboy fans are the problem. Cowboy fans think they're going to the Super Bowl every single year. I don't care what anybody says. They always feel they're going to the Super Bowl. But yes, Jerry is the problem. Until he retires or sells the team or whatever.
He ain't selling a team.
Well, I mean, okay, when he keeps his ass in the box and doesn't have anything to do with the team from day-to-day, day-to-day business, then I don't think the Cowboys will ever win a Super Bowl. Jerry's the problem. And until Jerry realizes that, Cowboys aren't going to get back at all. I'm going to talk my shit because that's what it's all about. That's exactly what it's all about. Leia's back in here. Also, y'all better hope the Saints don't go 6-0 because holy shit, I'm going to be unbearable. I mean, their next 3 games are very tough. I'll tell you what, I'm not going to bet you on the Atlanta game because I have as much confidence in Atlanta as I do the Spurs winning a title this year, and that ain't very much, in my opinion. So, in fact, I'll tell you what, I would take the Saints on that game because it would be like Carolina making the Super Bowl this year. That ain't gonna happen. Right now, the Saints are just too tough. But nonetheless, man, we're gonna get into some Caleb Williams talk here because last night, Houston Texans and the Chicago Bears ended up playing. It was 19-16 was the final on that game. Caleb Williams has only passed for 133 yards on an average in the first 2 games. He had 174 last night, 93 the previous week, about 133 passing yards total on average, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Everybody was gung-ho on the whole, this. I got to comment on that. I just saw this right here. Check this out. This guy's a real Falcons fan. Speaking of things over Falcons, give me a break, man. I'm a Falcons fan. I've been a Falcons fan forever. But when it comes to actually talking about sports, I take the fandom hat off all the time. I'll take a team over another team because why? Because I have to make the correct pick 'em. So can't give me crap for that, for being, real on the show here, man. But I am a Falcon fan. I mean, I go back way, way, way back. But when it comes to when it comes to Bears, Joe, the guy literally missed every receiver when he was rushed. When he panics, Caleb Williams is terrible. And I remember shooting out a text in the group chat. I said, look, it's basically going good because they kept it simple for Caleb at the beginning of the game. But once Houston started blitzing and getting to him, it rattled him. The exact same thing I was telling you before the draft.
Well, yeah. I mean, so far, they're not playing great on offense. They're also not running the ball either, Rudy. He's the leading. I believe he's the leading rusher last night.
Yeah,
that's concerning. The offensive line's getting pushed around. There's no rhythm. He did start playing a game very well, and then they just couldn't get that offensive pushing down the field. There's an issue, and sure, you can blame Caleb. Hasn't played well at all. I'll be the first to admit. But my God, put this team in better situations. The offense is just not playing well. And really, the offensive line we thought would be better so far, they're not looking great.
No, they look terrible.
They look terrible. And I'm not putting that on Caleb alone. He's playing bad, of course. But, man, the whole offense isn't playing good at all. The defense kept him in the game. And didn't love that throw Caleb threw at the end there, but he's also being rushed. He had to run out the pocket just to make that throw to even have a chance. So Bears offense, man, you need to just put something together that freaking works. It started off good, Rudy. The beginning of the game, the Falcons 21.
I mean, as a Falcon fan, we know Pittsburgh screwed that up. So there's no way they're going 21-0 this year.
He probably been. I'm sure he's picking the Falcons to win tonight. But no, Caleb just got to get better. Hey, they're 1-1. So for whatever it's worth, they still have an opportunity to make the postseason. But right now, man, that offense, for what I thought was going to be better, Rudy, has been just some hot mess.
So real quick before we go, I have another thing I wanted to talk about, because when Derek comes back tomorrow, all three of us will be able to talk more football. We'll get into more depth when football, because we're on a time crunch here for today's show. But you see Tua go out, another concussion. His career has to be over. But it's kind of come out and said, hey, I still want to play. I'm going to go to the doctors and see what they say. The guy's career has to be done, in my opinion. If you're his agent, you're the coaching staff, you're the owner, whatever, GM, teammates, you're telling him, bro, this is it. You're done. We're going to get into the Tua talk tomorrow with Derek. But knowing today that they go out and get Snoop Huntley, while you have Ryan Tannehill there still, what, to me, that screams that Miami just doesn't want to win this year. What is the reasoning behind not getting a really good veteran with the weapons you have on that offensive side of the ball?
Well, listen, the coach McDaniels, he does his own thing. He runs his own rhyme. He looks like a drug dealer every time I see him with his hair.
Yeah, it does.
I think the offense still want to win, and they have a unique offense, really. It's not an offense that is tailored to every quarterback. They do get the ball out pretty quick. But I'm not sure what they're doing. Maybe they're just doing it because Tua's coming back right away, Rudy. I really have no idea. Ryan Tannehill, last time I saw him, he was absolutely terrible. If they can get a trade for Carson Wentz or someone else who is probably more suitable. But Tua, I mean, Rudy, I saw a video of Javid Best. I'm not sure if you remember him. He was a running back from Cal.
I saw that one. Had
a lot of concussions, and he was a very talented player, and he had to give up the game. Percy Harvin had historically bad migraines, Rudy. I'm talking about really bad. He had to leave the game. It just didn't work out. So
yeah, it does. That's
Dolphins, but I call it Tom Brady.
wouldn't doubt if they did. Tua has to play the game about wanting to play and get medically retired, or he leaves $100 million on the table. You know what? I totally get that, but $100 million is not worth a life. You know, not worth the issues you're going to have by getting another concussion. And apparently this last one, according to what you mentioned, Javid Bass, he said this was that one that when he saw the hit, this is the one that should put him into retirement. And, you know, that's what I'm saying. $100 million on the table doesn't matter to me. If I'm Tua, it doesn't matter to me. You can go another route as a former NFL player. You can be a broadcaster. You can do a lot of different stuff. But you know, I think his life is worth a lot more than $100 million, especially with the family, man. I mean, at one point you have to realize, Gio, if I'm talking wrong here, let me know. But at one point you have to understand that life is life, man. There's more to life than just football.
It is. I think Tua needs to think hard, and I think he has. He needs to figure out a way to stop getting hit. That was his fault, Rudy.
Can't slide. What the hell? Like you're taught to slide in football.
Dude, he should. You need to have that awareness of just getting the ball out. Dude, throw that shit. Throw it away. Throw it away.
Yeah.
Throw it away. Throw it away. Just figure out ways. You know, we talk about also Robert Griffin III, another one who couldn't slide, kept getting hit, and it literally cost him his career.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, you got to get out of the way, man. Get out the way. Figure out in times you just throw the ball. I don't care if it's a damn penalty. Just get out your hands.
Yeah. And it goes back to the NFL has those new helmets too, the protection. So,
Yeah, those big old.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. It looks funny, but I mean, if it's meant to protect the player, you may want to get some of these guys to start doing it. But nonetheless, tomorrow when Derek Irvin gets back on, it'll be myself, it'll be Coach Gio, it'll be Derek Irvin. We're going to get more in depth into all the NFL action. I know Derek's got some stuff he wants to say on the quarterback play of one terrible first draft pick, Caleb Williams. Derek texted me right after, not after, but during the game, who's the worst quarterback in the NFL? It has to be either Bryce Young or Caleb Williams. That's a tough debate. Also, we're going to get into another debate this week with Coach Gio as we talk about what we ended last week with, Gio. Just to give you a heads up, so be prepared. Taking away Super Bowls, who are you starting a team with, Dan Marino or Tom Brady? Don't answer that now, but that was a very popular subject on Friday night. We're going to get into that talk here later on this week. Taking away Super Bowls, who do you take, Dan Marino or Tom Brady to start your franchise with? That's going to be a pretty good conversation because we got a lot of pushback when we said Dan Marino as our pick. But I want to know your pick, but just not right now. So until we sweep the league again tomorrow, guys, we should be back tomorrow at 9 o'clock, so regular time. This show is going to be broadcast tonight at 9 o'clock, so if you missed it now, don't worry. It's going to be broadcast again on our YouTube channel. Just search at Sweep League TV on YouTube. Be a subscriber, and that way you can be also entered into some of our giveaways as well. We're almost at 500 subscribers, guys. Appreciate everybody joining us. But again, keep hitting that subscribe button. So for Coach Gio, it's Rudy Cowboys Jr. Until we sweep the league again, we'll see you later, knuckleheads.